Protesters in the West Bank village of Beit Lid have gathered for a second consecutive day to oppose what Palestinian residents and local officials describe as the establishment of a new Israeli outpost on land bordering the community. The confrontation has unfolded under the presence of Israeli soldiers who deployed near the area as demonstrators attempted to approach the site where settlers were reportedly bringing in structural materials. Footage from the scene shows groups of protesters assembling on open farmland before dispersing as tear gas canisters were fired toward the crowd. Wide and extreme wide shots from the location capture residents waving flags, standing near barbed wire barriers and running for cover as Israeli military vehicles approach. Additional images show soldiers taking positions around the contested site, which Palestinian officials say lies within Area B of the West Bank, a designation under the Oslo framework where civil affairs fall under Palestinian Authority control while security is shared with Israel. Local officials say the dispute began when Israeli settlers arrived the previous day with tents, lumber, and other prefabricated materials, indicating, in their view, preparations for a new outpost. In the West Bank, outposts refer to small settlement clusters constructed without formal authorization under Israeli law, though many have later received retroactive approval. Palestinians argue that any civilian encroachment onto land near Beit Lid risks altering control of the area and may create new friction points. Throughout the morning and early afternoon, protesters moved across fields toward the site while Israeli forces expanded their deployment. Tear gas drifted across the demonstration area as several individuals attempted to navigate through wire fences. An ambulance was positioned nearby as groups of protesters retreated and regrouped, underscoring the volatility of the scene. In a statement at the protest, Qais Said, a member of the Beit Lid Municipality Council, described the demonstration as entirely civilian-led and focused on preventing the consolidation of the outpost. He said,
موجودين احنا اليوم هنا بوقفة سلمية كاملة لوجود البؤر الاستيطانية اللي بيحاولوا المستوطنين من امبارح إعادة إحضار مواد لوجستية، أخشاب، خيام، حتى معدات مطبخ وحمامات وكذا بيحاولوا بنائها في المنطقة هنا. هاي منطقة بي طبعا سابقة خطيرة كانت وجودهم في المنطقة هنا.
The remarks reflect growing local concern that the establishment of additional outposts could further complicate administrative boundaries and security conditions in the northern West Bank, which has seen heightened tension in recent months. Residents of Beit Lid argue that any new settler presence could limit Palestinian access to farmland and increase the likelihood of future confrontations around the community. Landowners in the vicinity also voiced opposition to construction near their properties. Helmi Shteiwe, who owns land adjacent to the site, stated his intention to maintain a continuous presence in order to prevent the settlement from taking root. He said, "We are ready to be present and resist as long as this settlement exists, and we will not tire or grow weary, and we will not submit." The incident comes amid broader debates over land use, jurisdiction, and settlement activity in the West Bank. According to Palestinian residents and officials, the disputed area lies outside existing settlement perimeters and falls under local agricultural use. Israeli authorities have not issued a public statement on the specific status of the site or the activities observed on the ground. As the day progressed, demonstration lines continued to shift as protesters approached and retreated in response to Israeli forces' movements. Images show individuals covering their faces from tear gas, while others attempted to stabilize their footing along slopes and agricultural plots. Some were seen assisting fellow demonstrators as projectiles detonated nearby, releasing additional gas. Military vehicles were observed navigating the area, with troops taking positions around the cleared ground where settlers allegedly attempted to place materials. While the standoff remained largely non-lethal, the use of tear gas and crowd dispersal tactics contributed to periodic surges of panic as protesters ran to avoid inhalation or further escalation. Officials in Beit Lid say their objective is to halt what they view as the early phase of outpost creation. Under Israeli law, outposts built without authorization are considered illegal, though many eventually enter administrative review processes that can lead to legalization or demolition. For Palestinians living near these locations, even the initial arrival of materials is viewed as a sign of long-term encroachment. Demonstrators emphasized that their actions were peaceful and intended to assert community rights rather than provoke confrontation. The footage documents no armed presence among the protesters, and individuals are shown unarmed as they gather in the fields. Saeed reiterated that the municipality considers the reported settler activity incompatible with Area B's administrative status. He repeated his concern that the attempt to introduce materials into the area sets a precedent that could alter future land use patterns. The wider context includes ongoing disputes between Palestinian communities and Israeli settlers over grazing routes, agricultural fields, and hilltop areas throughout the northern West Bank. Human rights groups and international observers continue to track the construction of outposts, noting that their establishment often results in new access restrictions for nearby Palestinian residents. Shtivei's remarks highlight the determination of local landowners to retain access to property historically used for farming. His statement underscores community fears that once an outpost is established, Palestinian access to surrounding areas may be reduced by military zoning, roadblocks, or protective perimeters constructed for settler security. Throughout the afternoon, reporters documented continued movement of Israeli forces around Beit Lid as protesters attempted to regroup. Additional charges could be heard detonating in the background of some footage consistent with the deployment of tear gas or stun devices. Scenes of villagers helping one another across barriers and guiding people away from areas filled with gas illustrate the shifting dynamics of the demonstration as conditions changed. Palestinian officials have stated that they will monitor the situation closely and maintain a presence near the site in coordination with local residents and landowners. They say they intend to document any continued attempts to bring in materials and will raise the issue with relevant administrative authorities. For many in Beit Lid, the concern is not limited to the physical structures but to the long-term implications for land designation. Palestinians worry that any initial settler presence, even temporary tents or storage, could lead to expanded infrastructure, roads, and eventual claims over adjacent farmland. They say this could further constrain movement and economic activity in an already sensitive region. The Israeli military has not released detailed information about its operational posture in the area. In similar situations across the West Bank, security forces have cited the need to maintain order, prevent clashes, and protect civilians. It remains unclear whether troops were deployed in response to the demonstration itself, the reported settler activity, or both. The visual evidence from the site reflects a tense but controlled environment, with demonstrators remaining mostly stationary or moving in groups while avoiding direct contact with soldiers. The presence of medical personnel and ambulances nearby indicates preparation for potential injuries, although no serious casualties were referenced in statements accompanying the footage. As the day neared its end, Israeli military vehicles continued to move across the outskirts of the village, and soldiers maintained their positions along key access paths. Protesters, though affected by tear gas, continued to gather in smaller clusters, watching the area where settlers had reportedly attempted to position materials. Local leadership has called for continued vigilance, emphasizing that the situation could develop further depending on whether additional settler activity occurs in the coming days. They argue that the classification of the land as Area B limits civilian construction without coordination, and warn that any efforts to alter the status quo may prompt additional demonstrations. This incident is one of several recent confrontations in the West Bank involving disputes over settlement expansion and land rights. The region has seen a series of legal and political developments, with Israeli authorities at times approving new construction, while at other moments issuing demolition orders for unauthorized outposts. Palestinians and international observers continue to raise concerns that the cumulative effect of settlement activity is contributing to a more volatile security environment. The Beit Lid protest is expected to continue drawing attention from local and regional officials, particularly if settlers make further attempts to bring in equipment or materials. Residents say they plan to maintain a constant presence near the site to deter additional construction efforts. The situation remains fluid, with Israeli forces still present around the area and Palestinian protesters signaling their intention to return. Both Saeed's and Shteway's statements point to a sustained local campaign to prevent what they view as the establishment of a new, unauthorized outpost. For now, the confrontation has subsided into a tense standoff, with each side monitoring the other's movements. Protesters remain focused on preventing any physical consolidation of settler structures, while Israeli troops continue to oversee the perimeter around the site. The coming days will determine whether the situation escalates, stabilizes, or shifts toward administrative review. For residents of Beit Lid, the central issue remains the protection of local land and the prevention of what they consider an encroachment that could reshape the area's boundaries and daily life. The situation in Beit Lid currently stands as an unresolved dispute, with demonstrators opposing the reported outpost activity and Israeli forces maintaining a visible presence around the contested land.